Well, hello everyone. We are live, which is great it's great to be here, guys. It's a Monday. It's not very sunny today, but yeah, we we need to struggle on. The spring is coming, hopefully. So welcome to 99 Grit. It is our vision here to inspire you to chase your dreams and turn those dreams into tangible design careers through learning new design skills and being accountable in that pursuit. I'm really glad that we're all here. Just bear with me just one sec. What I wanted to do is just to spread the word a little bit. So I just want to publish all of this greatness that we're doing here to my private page so that we can share the love a little bit further into the universe. So just bear with me. Bear with me. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There you go. There you go. I always feel like Facebook is changing this, their interface like constantly, and is always bringing me down when it comes to that. So, okay, that's one thing done. And the other one, yes, very nice. Very nice. Okay, guys, so we are done. I'm going to try and see if my fancy little pen is working. It is working, which is great. Okay, so welcome. What I wanted to do today is go to the next stage of this whole thing when it comes to design systems. I think that we're kind of getting there, getting to the very end of this whole thing, which is really, really interesting. Yeah, this is Design Almanac, or Facebook Live event. It's on every Monday at 10 a.m. CET. Today it's at 11 a.m. CET. Yeah, we needed to change that a little bit due to some personal issues, but yeah, we still want to get it done. So for those of you who know me, jump back in and let's break this down. For those of you that don't know me, I've been a designer of all sorts, from a UI designer to UX designer to service designer, all the way to running teams in a company now. And I just wanted to put these lives together for you guys so that you can actually, see how I tackle some of those things on my day-to-day, and yeah, hopefully this is of use to you. So without further ado, let's break down the design systems. We're using Amazon.com as an example because it's very complex and a diverse environment when it comes to the interfaces and the entire system of interaction. So I wanted to cover some of that a little bit further into the live. So yeah. Let's do this. So when it comes to design systems as a whole, let me just try and, I'll use this one, turn it into a full screen. So design systems are basically, it's something, you can see the colorful elements already. So we've covered typography, colors, spacing, and components in our previous live streams. But now I wanted just to recap and tell you a little bit more about what a design system actually is. Well, a design system is nothing more than a consistent way of interacting between ourselves, being the program or the product designers, building this design system, and interacting with some human beings on the other side. And we just want to make sure that for the bigger entities that like Amazon.com, but there's a lot of different ways of interaction. We want to keep it as consistent as possible, and design systems are a way to actually get there. And when it comes to what a design system, that's why a design system is out there. But what it actually is, it's a combination of elements, and the first one is the typography, and also iconography lands in that same group of things. So all the fonts, all the icons, all the elements related to the size of those fonts, size of those icons, etc., the thickness of those, etc., etc. So that's the first one. Then we go into colors, and we want to have a consistent color palette right the way throughout the design system. So that's elements related to the color palettes we use, the colors of the fonts, colors of buttons, all of those elements that are being colored for some reason in the system itself. That's where that ends up. And then we go into spacing, and that's where we actually cover, okay, so if you have these elements of color and typography and iconography, and they fit together perfectly on those two things, like colors and typography, we want to make sure that they are spaced appropriately throughout the design system and consistently on that matter as well. And then we go into components. So that's basically building blocks of the entire system that are derived from the rules and the constraints that we've actually come up with when we were looking at typography, colors, and spacing. So that's the components. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about how to put all of those elements together into something that somebody else can then use and see some of the do's and the don'ts. So we wanted to cover the templates. So let me just go back to our fancy little, where is it? Is it this one? Yes, indeed. Oh, that's the one. So let me just take a brush tool just to make sure that it's the brush size that I'm changing. That's perfect. And yeah, we will cover the templates today, guys. I'm really excited. I hope that you're having a good Monday, just as I am. My voice is a little bit used. I've done a lot of talking over the weekend, a lot of interviews, a lot of project work. We don't stop for the weekend, you know. We want to keep it hustling. We want to keep on hustling as much as we can. So my voice is a little bit shot when it comes to that. But templates. So I want to think about or have a look at how to actually put all of those elements together into something that somebody else can use. And I'll use some of the examples of how to actually put those things together. Looking back at what we've already done, we've covered the colors themselves using this little panel on Amazon.com. We've covered the typography. As you can see, there's quite a few different fonts there, so the spacing is different, the colors are different, and the typography is different. So if we were to redesign Amazon.com, we would have to then look at those things, create an inventory of those elements, simplify them, create a consistent way of interaction in between the typography, the color, the spacing, and the components, and then put them into templates so that somebody can actually understand how to use them and what are the contexts. So basically, create these kinds of templates. This panel could be a template itself that showcases how we use those elements together and how we put them together into something that's more functional and more understandable to the user. So let me just open up a browser window. A new tab, if it's going to work. That's awesome. Okay, you guys can see it. And we've done that in the past. We've looked at it, but I wanted to go a little bit further into it, and that's the Design System Repo. Design System Repo, I think it's called. Yes, it is. There you go. I highly recommend you actually signing up to these guys. Or at least having a brief look around every now and then just to see what's out there, what's new, because they're really good at putting the design systems together that are being used by different companies, and it's good to actually have a good understanding of where we are when it comes to the design systems themselves, and they're doing a pretty good job at it. So yeah, we can do and view the latest design systems, and there's an entire gallery of those things. I'm going to go A to Z maybe, or maybe most recent. I don't know. I'm not sure. Should we go A to Z? Okay, let's do A to Z. Hello, Vincent. It's great to see you, man. I'm happy that you've joined up. It's great to see you. Yeah, let's just continue. When it comes to the design systems themselves, as you can see, there's quite a few elements that we can have a look at, and quite a lot of companies that are actually creating these things and putting them together. And it's pretty exciting to actually look at at all of them in one place. So I think that we've looked at the Pulse in the past. So let's review this one as well a little bit. Maybe let's look at something. We've got Ant Design, we've got Atlassian, which kind of delivers Jira, and all that craziness over there. We've covered Audi, I think, as well. So let's have a look at that. And I just wanted to show you how do those companies come up with these templates, and how do they put it together so that anyone looking at a new design system that is required to actually apply it, what they can do with it and how they can actually operate. So that's that. And what I wanted to actually have a look at, maybe, because I think that it's a pretty cool guide, and I'm sure that some of you've used it when you were designing, or I'm sure that even if you haven't even designed it, you definitely used it on your app, and that's the Google material that I wanted to have a look as well. Let me see if I'll be able to find it. There you go. That's material designed by Google, and we can actually start off here. And there's a lot of cool things when it comes to the philosophy of actually how to create the components and put them together. There's obviously a list of components. We've covered that in the past. So you've got your banners. You've got your banners, obviously. You've got your buttons. You have the the way, you know, it actually kind of is an interactive element as a whole. So you can actually click around, see how it actually works, etc., which is pretty cool to have a look at and actually see how it all operates. So there's a whole list of components that Google actually use and want you to use whenever you're designing something using their design system. And that's fantastic and that's great, but that's just a list of components. And now what Google did actually in the past, within material design, is something pretty cool, and that's something that I wanted to highlight. So if you go to the design tab, there's like the material system, there's like introduction, what it's all about, how it's all structured, etc. But if I remember correctly, there's a few things when it comes to understanding the layout, the template itself. So how to put those things together, what are the principles, pixel densities, and all of those. But I'm actually looking for something. Let me just see that: spacing, color, typography, sound, iconography, shape, motion, shape. Let's do shape maybe. So let me just hide this thing. These are the examples of shapes, the shadow underneath, etc. But the greatest thing about this whole thing when it comes to Google Material is actually the usage. So this kind of shows you how to put a template together, and how to actually use those components and how to put them together so that it's actually understandable to the user and consistent right the way throughout the design system. So that's something that I would definitely put in every design system spec that I would be putting together, and we can look at some of the other ones, but I just wanted to show you the do's and the don'ts. This is exactly what I was looking for when it comes to the template design and putting those components together when you want to describe how to use them to another human being. And this is a great way to do it, the do's and the don'ts. So when it comes to Google Material Design, they've actually highlighted two different cases, and they've shown you what is the way to do it and what is the way not to do it. I mean, if you look at the component itself, it's pretty consistent. I mean, the stuff on the right and the stuff on the left, I'm sure that if you just looked at the list of the components, you'd be happy with it. You'd be like, okay, well, I've been consistent with the design system. I've been consistent with using the components. But because we have the templates element within the design system spec, we can then look at some of the specific kind of do's and don'ts, or kind of contexts of use of that specific design system, and actually highlight how to use it, rather than just give somebody a list of components and say, off you go, do whatever you want with it. So the do's and the don'ts, that's something that I would highly recommend to do whenever you're building a design system. So that's pretty much it. So when it comes to creating these specs, they usually have at least, well, 2, 3, or even 4 elements, and Google Material Design is again a very good example. So we have the design, so we know what are the principles, how to put it all together, what are the grids, and how to put those elements together. But then we have another tab, which is the components, and that's what we should be putting together. So all the apps, all the app bars, the banners, the buttons, the cars, the chips, etc. So all of the elements that form the layout itself. Once we know how to put it all together, this is here to help us, to actually show us what are the building blocks of those templates. So that's that. Then we can go into the develop element, which is like the third element, or the third area any design system should really have, and that's stuff for your developers, for the people that actually are going to be putting it all into code and actually using the design system to create something that's more interactive, that's actually a workable, either prototype or a workable app at the end of the day. So that's the third element, and as you can see, there's quite a few things here when it comes to even tutorials on how to actually apply this design system for a developer. You've got some GitHub repos, etc. So the stuff for the development is definitely something crucial, and Google definitely went ahead and actually dug really deep into each one of those elements. So that's that. And then at the end of the day, that's the fourth area, and that's the resources that people can download. So for this particular design system, you've got the iconography that you can actually download. You've got the gallery. You've got let's see the gallery itself. What are we able to download? So as you can see, there's a gallery of elements and example templates of using the design system that you can actually download and start from there. So that's pretty interesting, pretty cool to actually have, and that's something that should be also included within your design system spec. So the templates themselves, they can be in the resources tab, obviously, and in the design foundations as well. So going back to maybe some other examples. So let's see how Audi did it when they were creating their own design system. So let's see, we've got the brand appearance, we've got the basics, and rings and tagline, and colors and typography. So there are some design foundations within the actual spec itself, which is great. So they've got the layout structure, so they tell us a little bit more about what are the examples, so the do's of how to actually put those things together. I'm not sure if they actually show us the don'ts, how not to put it together. They probably don't. There you go. They're showing the alignment of the typography, how to put all of those elements together. So the horizontal alignment, the vertical alignments, etc., etc., etc. So they're giving us a lot of the do's, what to do when you're actually using their design system. So they have the design kind of philosophy outlined there as well, which is great. And they have some elements when it comes to the guides of the user interface, etc. And also, I'm sure that they have the components themselves listed somewhere, or maybe this is the basics and that's pretty much everything that they have. So they have the icons, the imagery, but I think that maybe user interface, components, there you go. So we have the buttons, and we know how the buttons look like, what kind of elements they are, how big they are, what kind of variants of buttons we have. We have the cards, we have the drag and drops, etc., etc., etc. So this is where they've actually put in the elements related to the components themselves. And when it comes to the development, so kind of the coding, I think that it's going to be somewhere around here. So maybe this one, a drag and drop. There you go. Oh, there's like don'ts. Okay, so there's a don't there as well, which is great. But what I'm actually looking for, yeah, there you go. So I'm sure that, yeah, there's a source code, an HTML source code that you can actually, highlight, copy it, and put it into your source code when you're actually putting and using the design system as a whole when you're designing something of your own. So that's the second element, right? So, well, the third one. So they've got some design, a design philosophy behind this whole thing. They have the components. Within the components, they have a development element where you can actually copy some of the code and use it. And I'm also looking for maybe some resources that we can actually download in some way, shape, or form. Maybe the components or something. Let's see if they have something like that. Card, textile, slideshow. I think that's, well, I think that maybe here. A download library. I don't see anything here. So maybe they don't. So that's one of the elements that probably is missing within this one. Let's go to the pulse and see what we have here. So we have the introduction, so we can actually look at the introduction, the core values of this thing, the principles of the pulse design system. You've got the spacing of 8 points, the colors, illustrations, etc., etc. So they have that one element done. So that's cool. So we have the principles, the design tips, etc. That's fantastic. So another one would be the component list, which is sorry, which as you can see is listed here. So we have the buttons again, the cards, containers, dividers, etc., etc. So that's 2 out of 4 done. The next one would be, I would like to see where is the code. So that's actually highlighted at the very, at the very beginning. So whenever there's a button, you've got some source code. So if you download some of the structures or the actual files from them, you can actually use that code and possibly put it to use in some way, shape, or form. This is like styles. Oh, there you go. You've got some code here as well. So there are ways of actually copying some of the source code and using it in your development. So that's like 3 out of 4. And the last but not least is, do we have any resources to actually download some of that? And I'm guessing, let me just close this one. That I don't see anything. Let me see. Resources. There you go. Find out more. Do we have anything? Let's see. Do we have any resources to download? Moodboard template. We've got some Figma templates. As you can see, fantastic. So we can actually get into Figma, get a template, and actually start designing this thing, putting it all together. So that's pretty cool, right? So the polls, 4 out of 4, Audi 3 out of 4, design and Google Material Design 4 out of 4 as well. So depending on the, I guess, the diversity and the complexity of the system itself, you know, the amount of the description and the specification that you'll be using is somewhat different. So that's pretty much it, guys, when it comes to how to put the templates together and what are the templates there for. They're to showcase how to do and how not to do some of the contexts and some of the cases when we're actually designing and putting those interfaces together. So that's pretty much a wrap when it comes to our today's live. I hope that this is useful, guys, and yeah, we're having a webinar this Thursday at 10 a.m. CET, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. You know, I would love to hear some of the comments underneath the video about, you know, is this useful, what we should be tackling or getting in depth about when it comes to typography, maybe when it comes to maybe the components, maybe the design systems as a whole. We're getting to the end of this thing. There's like 2 elements left for us to cover, and that's the interaction and the copywriting as well. So we will have 2 additional live streams that will be covering interaction models and the copywriting. But so far, from the typography, the colors, the spacing, components, and templates, if there's anything that's more interesting for you guys to listen to, definitely let us know. Reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help. So I'm looking forward to some of the interactions. Check us out on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, and we're also on Instagram. Posting very heavily on all of those platforms, and we're looking forward to some of the feedback and some of the interactions you might be looking forward to as well. So have a great week, guys, and yeah, one challenge for the week: I would try and see if you have designed a design system so far. Have you put some of those templates together as do's and don'ts of those? That'll be something I would check, and if you haven't, definitely give it a shot. Take whatever you're designing currently, put all of those elements together, and see what are the contexts of design that work for this specific element, and what are the contexts of the design that don't work, and highlight those 2 together, and maybe showcase it to some of your teammates and see what they think. So, or better yet, take a screenshot and send it to us via, you know, LinkedIn or Facebook. We'd be happy to respond and see how you did there. So yeah, have a great week, guys, and it was great to be here this Monday morning, and I will see you around.